The world bends. It bends under the weight of opinion. It shifts beneath the influence of fear. It twists to accommodate comfort, popularity, convenience. But truth does not bend. Principle does not compromise. The eternal laws that govern progress stand unmoved, untouched by the trembling hands of weak men. Important principles may and must be inflexible. These were the words of Abraham Lincoln, not spoken in comfort, but forged in the furnace of conflict, not whispered from a place of safety, but declared as a man held hostage by history itself. He stood where most would have folded. He carried a nation on the brink of collapse, divided by blood, ideology, and the heavy chains of its own contradictions. And yet, he stood. Because principle, real principle, does not negotiate. You see, it is easy to hold your values when no one challenges them. It is effortless to claim strength when no storm has yet arrived. But your character is not measured by what you say when skies are clear. It is revealed by what you do when lightning cracks across your horizon. Lincoln understood this. The world today forgets it. We live in a time where principles are traded like currency, where truth is bent to fit narratives, where people compromise for applause, for acceptance, for ease. But ease never built empires. Ease never forged greatness. Ease never birthed revolutions. It was men like Lincoln, men who stared into the abyss and refused to yield, who carved the path forward. He was not perfect. He was not without fear. He was not without enemies. But he was anchored to something deeper than the noise of his time, anchored to principle, anchored to the rigid, unyielding foundation upon which every lasting victory is built. Look at history's architects of progress. Thomas Edison faced 10,000 failures, but he did not surrender the principle of relentless iteration. Carnegie stood against the limits of industrial possibility, but he did not surrender the principle of scale. Henry Ford was mocked for imagining machines that would place a nation on wheels, but he did not surrender the principle of accessibility. And Disney went bankrupt, chasing dreams no one else could see, but he did not surrender the principle of vision. And Lincoln, he stood when the nation tore itself apart, when brothers raised rifles against brothers, when the very soul of the Union trembled. But he did not surrender the principle of unity, of liberty, of human dignity. Because principle is not an accessory. It is not a convenience. It is not to be negotiated when the winds turn cold. It is the spine, the rigid, unyielding backbone that separates those who build from those who collapse. There is a seductive poison that whispers to every generation, adapt, compromise, adjust your standards, meet them where they are. But where they are is irrelevant when principle is concerned. Where the crowd stands holds no weight against eternal law. Gravity does not negotiate. Mathematics does not debate. The sun does not rise by committee, and neither does truth. There is only what works and what does not, what endures and what disintegrates. This is the realm of principle. Unshaken, unyielding, unbreakable. The average man chases comfort. He seeks applause. He bows to pressure. He exchanges his values for acceptance, trading away the priceless for the temporary. But the builder, the one who understands the deeper game, plants his feet in the soil of inflexible principle. He does not ask, "What will they think?" He asks, "What is right?" He does not ask, "Will they accept me?" He asks, will this endure? Because comfort will betray you, popularity will abandon you, but principle will carry you when everything else fails. It will carry you through the long nights, through the whispers of doubt, through the isolation that always precedes greatness. Greatness is not born in the comfort of consensus. It is born in the agony of conviction. Lincoln knew this as he stood in the White House, haunted by the weight of war, haunted by the letters of mothers who had buried their sons, haunted by the blood of a nation staining its own soil. The easy path whispered, "Compromise. Let them go, divide the Union, accept half of victory." But the easy path leads to fragile victories, victories that rot the moment they are touched. Lincoln understood that there are some truths too sacred to divide, that some battles demand total commitment, not half measures. And so he stood, knowing that the price of his principle might be his own destruction. Because that is what principle demands. It demands sacrifice. It demands isolation. It demands that you walk through fire while the world screams for you to stop. But in that fire, something is forged that no enemy can break. Unshakable clarity, unquestionable strength, unstoppable resolve. You see, most people think success is born from tactics, from hacks, from shortcuts. They believe it's about finding the loophole, the trick, the easier way. But those who build empires understand the deeper law. Principle compounds. Every time you hold your standard, even when it costs you, you strengthen the foundation beneath your feet. Every time you say no to compromise, you solidify your internal architecture. Every time you reject the easy path, you sharpen your ability to endure the storms that will inevitably arrive, because they will arrive. And when they do, when the world crashes, when the economy collapses, when the critics circle, when fear spreads like wildfire, most will fall. They will fall because their foundations were built on sand, on popularity, on convenience, on fragile alliances. But you, if you have lived by principle, you will remain. You will stand when others kneel. You will build while others scatter. You will endure while others fade. Because important principles may and must be inflexible. The storms will come. You can count on them. They arrive without warning, without mercy. And when they do, they expose everything. The storm reveals the cracks. It tears away the illusions. It shows you what was real and what was always pretending. This is why men who build on comfort fall, because comfort is soft, comfort is hollow. Comfort whispers, "You've done enough, you've earned this, you can relax now." But principle never whispers. Principle demands. Principle insists. It does not congratulate you for yesterday's work. It demands today's discipline. It demands tomorrow's sacrifice. Lincoln never stood before the world and said, "I have arrived." He stood before the world and said, "There is more work to be done." The Union was not preserved by celebration. It was preserved by unrelenting resolve, by decisions that cost him friends, by convictions that earned him enemies, by a spine that refused to bend. Because when principle leads, comfort dies. When principle leads, compromise flees. When principle leads, you rise while others crumble. Look at every man who has left his fingerprint on history. Edison did not stop at failure number 1000. Carnegie did not fold when industries collapsed. Ford did not surrender when they mocked his assembly line. Disney did not abandon his vision when the banks closed their doors. And Lincoln, he did not fracture when half the nation threatened his presidency, his legacy, his life. They all stood because their principles were not negotiable.
You may not face civil war. You may not carry the weight of a divided nation, but the principle is the same, because your war is internal. You face the war of doubt, the war of insecurity, the war of hesitation, the war of mediocrity pulling at your heels. Every morning you enter that battlefield. Every decision is a vote for who you are becoming. Will you act from conviction or convenience? Will you move with clarity or confusion? Will you build or drift? This is where most lose, not in the grand moments, but in the small ones, in the snooze button, in the skipped workout, in the broken promise to yourself, in the easy yes to things that steal your focus, in the silent negotiation with mediocrity. The man who bows to comfort once will bow again, and again, and again, until he no longer remembers how to stand. But the man who plants himself in principle becomes immovable. He becomes the tree that bends under hurricane winds but does not break. He becomes the architect who lays stone upon stone until the foundation is unshakable. And when the storms rage, because they will, he is not afraid. Because he has already done the work. Because his standards are not situational. Because his values are not rented, they are owned. Most people chase motivation. They wait to feel ready. They hope for inspiration.
But the builder understands. Discipline is greater than motivation. Principle is greater than emotion. You will not always feel like building. You will not always feel like sacrificing. You will not always feel like pushing forward. But your feelings are irrelevant. Your principles remain. Lincoln did not feel strength every moment of his presidency. There were nights when the weight nearly crushed him, when letters arrived with lists of the dead, when advisors begged him to yield, when the world screamed for compromise. But he returned again and again to the same foundation. Important principles may and must be inflexible, because if liberty was negotiable, it was already lost. If unity was optional, the union was already broken. If human dignity was a matter of convenience, then it never existed at all. Principles are the bones of civilization. Without them, everything collapses. And so he stood. While others pleaded for easy answers, he held his line. While others sought temporary peace, he demanded enduring justice. While others counted the political cost, he counted the moral one. And because he stood, the world was changed. The lesson is not history. The lesson is law, a law written into the very structure of progress. Principle precedes power. Discipline precedes freedom. Sacrifice precedes legacy. Those who compromise for ease leave nothing behind, but those who embrace the price of unbending standards carve their names into stone. You are not here to follow the crowd. You are not here to fit into broken systems. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to build, to endure, to expand, to rise. And that path demands you decide, once and for all, what principles will govern your life. Will you chase popularity or mastery? Will you chase safety or impact? Will you chase comfort or greatness? Because you cannot have both. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose your foundation, and once chosen, you hold the line. No matter the fear, no matter the noise, no matter the critics. Because important principles may and must be inflexible. The weight of principle will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your resolve. It will test your willingness to suffer for something that may not reward you in this lifetime. But the builder understands. Legacy is not built for applause today. Legacy is built for echoes tomorrow. Abraham Lincoln knew that his decisions would ripple far beyond his own lifetime. He knew the cost might consume him, but he chose the cost. Because there are truths that demand everything. There are missions that tolerate no compromise. There are standards that must be protected even when the world mocks them. The masses will call you stubborn. They will call you rigid. They will call you extreme.
But what they call stubborn, history calls unwavering. What they call rigid, history calls principled. What they call extreme, history calls necessary. Weak men fold under discomfort. Strong men stand inside the fire. Because greatness lives in the fire. The fire burns away what is weak. The fire purifies what remains. The fire leaves behind only that which can withstand eternity. Every man is offered this fire. Few enter, fewer endure. Almost none emerge. But those who do change everything. Ford changed the world by refusing to accept that cars must be expensive. Edison changed the world by refusing to accept that light belonged to the day. Disney changed the world by refusing to accept that dreams were childish illusions. Lincoln changed the world by refusing to accept that freedom was negotiable. Their pain became civilization's gain. Their suffering became humanity's progress. Their sacrifice became our inheritance. And you, though you may not hold a nation in your hand, hold something just as dangerous, your own potential. Every choice you make writes the architecture of your existence. Every moment of compromise erodes your foundation. Every moment of discipline fortifies it. The enemy is not outside you. It lives in your own negotiation with yourself, in the soft whisper that says, just this once. Today doesn't matter. No one will notice. But the principal builder notices, because he understands every small fracture becomes a collapse if left unchecked. The discipline you skip today becomes the weakness you carry tomorrow. The lie you allow today becomes the identity you wear tomorrow. The standard you drop today becomes the regret that haunts you tomorrow. And so you must guard your standards like your life depends on them, because it does. Your life is nothing but the compounded result of your principles. Your health, your mind, your business, your relationships, your legacy, all rise or fall on the back of whether your principles bend. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. The world will offer you 1,000 excuses, 1,000 distractions, 1,000 seductive reasons to soften. But the builders, the rare few, have already decided. The decision is made before the test arrives. The line is drawn before the storm begins. The standard is set before the temptation comes. And when it does, they stand. Not because they feel brave, but because the principle has become their identity. Because compromise is no longer on the menu. Lincoln faced this again and again. Every advisor, every ally, every political force pulled him toward half measures, toward safe choices, toward temporary relief. But he refused, because he knew that partial victories are fragile, that weak agreements rot from the inside, that the weight of history would not judge him by how little conflict he avoided, but by how much truth he upheld.
And so he stood. Through assassination threats, through betrayal, through unimaginable pressure, through national collapse. And when the Union held, when the war was won, it was not because he was lucky, it was because he was unbending. You are called to build your own union, your own empire of discipline, of clarity, of unshakable principles. And you will be tested. You will face your own civil wars, not with armies, but with thoughts, not with rifles, but with choices. The enemy will not arrive in uniform. It will arrive disguised as comfort, as convenience, as rationalization. You've worked hard enough. You deserve rest. Lower your standard, just for now. But the builder recognizes these voices for what they are, the assassins of legacy. The compromise you make today steals from the future you claim to desire. There is no such thing as harmless weakness. There is no such thing as insignificant compromise. Small cracks become fatal fractures. You may never see your cracks, but time will. Time always reveals the structure. The house built on bending standards will collapse the moment the storm arrives. The house built on inflexible principles will stand for generations. Because principle scales, discipline compounds, conviction compounds, truth compounds. And nothing scales like the man who refuses to negotiate with weakness. You were not born to drift. You were not designed to negotiate your destiny. You were built for something rare, something sacred, something most will never taste. Mastery. But mastery is not given. Mastery is built on the bones of decisions no one else is willing to make. It is built on the refusal to compromise when compromise feels easier. It is built on the discipline to uphold your standard when no one is watching. It is built on the courage to endure loneliness while others seek comfort in crowds. Lincoln understood this. He was not seeking popularity. He was not seeking applause. He was not seeking ease. He was building something that would outlive him, something that would echo far beyond the years carved into his tombstone. He was building a union. He was building freedom. He was building a civilization where principle, not preference, would govern. Because important principles may and must be inflexible. This is your charge. You are not here to entertain the crowd. You are here to outlast the noise. You are here to build something that will not collapse under the weight of time. You are here to carve a legacy into the stone of existence itself. The world will tempt you to bend. It will seduce you with short-term comfort. It will invite you to abandon your standards in exchange for temporary relief. And most will accept that offer. Most will break. Most will vanish. But you are not most. You are the builder who plants his feet when others kneel. You are the architect who lays stone upon stone with brutal precision. You are the one who holds the line even when your hands shake, even when the storm roars, even when you stand alone. Because you know that weakness multiplies, that every negotiation with comfort steals from your future, that every compromise poisons your foundation. And so, you will not bend. You will hold, because you understand what they never will. Important principles may and must be inflexible. And in that inflexibility, you will find your freedom. In that discipline, you will build your empire. In that unbending standard, you will unlock a force that reshapes your world. The storm will come. The critics will speak. The pressure will rise. But you will stand. Because this is who you are, a builder, a leader, a man of principle. And when the world looks back, when history writes its verdict, it will not be the loud voices they remember. It will be the ones who never bent. If these principles awaken something inside you, leave a like, share it with those who need to hear it, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey of building, rising, and standing strong through every storm.